Friends, maybe the pictures that you saw at the beginning of our service have jarred a special memory, maybe a special thought, maybe just a special, quick but humorous, memorable reflection about Jim that all of us might find meaningful. I know our hearts are heavy and the grief is very thick in our midst, but I wonder, and I think what I might do, the immediate family may have something they want to share, but I'm going to reverse this morning. I'm going to start with the congregation, and I think perhaps some of you have something meaningful and uplifting to share that is going to be especially helpful to the immediate family this morning. So I'm going to start with you, congregation. I wonder if you might have just a simple sentence or just a short little thought about Jim that maybe makes you laugh, maybe always inspires you, makes you feel good. And I wonder if you would share that. Who would like to share something? Okay, let me come back. I'm going to give you the microphone. Let me start with you. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Hold on.
I think it was 2004 when good old Ivan rolled through. Our house was flooding our basement and everything, and we didn't know why. And Jim came down and helped us. He drilled holes in our foundation, and because Jim never threw anything away, he had old gutters and stuff. We only had one drain in our basement, and it was hard for the water to get to it through all the roots and stuff. But he had things that helped us. And he was the absolute strongest person physically that I had ever met. When we moved in, we had a cast iron tub in our bathroom that we wanted to replace. The man ripped it out by himself and carried it down to the road by himself. It was, and it's his strength and his faith in the Lord I will treasure forever.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, and that's blessing us already. And I see Holly, I wanted to go to you. If maybe we could just pass the mic down to Holly. Could you do that for me?
Jimmy was just such a sweetheart to everyone. And I know when we were on the Deacons together, I was the moderator and he was the vice moderator. And he always took everything so seriously. And he really did a good job. He loved the Lord, and he just loved everybody. And I'm just grateful to have known him.
Okay, so that's two on that side. I got to get at least two people on this side. I know this is hard for everybody, but we're all being blessed by your stories. Would there be a few people that on this side that maybe want to share something? Okay, let me just pass that. Thank you, my friend.
It's been almost about a year ago. I worked over Jim's house, put a couple glass block windows in for him. And I couldn't believe at that time he was fighting cancer for about a year. And for them 2 days that I worked there, he was scrapping all day, telling me everything about, what was going into the rock, where he got it, what the prices were on every metal. And I thought, here's a guy who's been fighting his cancer for a year. And the most important thing was providing for his family. That time I was here, I thought that was cool.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Providing for his family, scrapping everything to provide for his family. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I have to tell you, like, for example, me, I'm not a handyman, so I'm always so intrigued and inspired by people that are handy and seem to have an answer for everything. And when I would spend time with Jim, I just felt so intrigued by his just ability to fix, anything and everything. Could I have one more person from this side that maybe wants to share? Is there one more or someone? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to give you this. Would you hold it?
He was a kind man, and he was so kind to us as newcomers at Plum Creek. And I remember how much he loved when Harry and Karen praised the Lord with music. How proud he was of that.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. Isn't anybody going to tell the story that happened with him? Okay. Isn't anybody going to tell the story that happened with him a few years ago when he cut his hand or something? He let his wife know, and he still drove the truck home or something like that, which was amazing. And I think someone here.
Yeah, when Jim was little, and he was my nephew, and he came up one day and said he needed to see Uncle Sonny. And I said, he's right downstairs. He said, I just need to borrow the saucer. And I said, well, what is the saucer, honey? And he said, you know, just to sauce up your tires.
Aw, amen. Amen. He was coming to pump them up. That's a nice story. Thank you for that.
Always working on his way.
Okay. God bless you. We have another person here. Thank you, my friend.
I kind of got a story to tell here. I was a conservation officer, and I remember when Jim was born, but when he became about 12 years old is when we really become friends. And you saw the picture of the bear. Well, I was involved in that day, and he was with his dad and his brother. And they got the first bear. I believe Jim got the first bear. I may have that story backwards, but his dad came back to the camp where we were at, which you've seen a picture of the camp, and they needed help because it was down over the mountain. So we all went, got our guys together, and my sons and that, and we went over to get this bear. And while we're trying to get to the bear, Joey come running up, and he's hollering, Uncle Jim, we got another one. Well, you may not realize it, but at that time, it was only allowed one bear to a camp. So we had kind of a dilemma, and especially with my position. And so we had to do a little finagling. And that's right. And we went to, took the bears to a local game protector that I knew, and we got things straightened out, but I suffered a little bit later on through the Pennsylvania Game Commission and so on. But then Jim was very interested in the outdoors, and of course all this says that. And when he was in high school, I'm trying to think how old he was, but I knew he must have been 16 because he was able to drive. And the school allowed him to come up and spend the better part of a week with me and ride around on my job, and he wrote a report. It was only this past November. I was up at our camp again, and Jim was there, and I asked him, how'd you make out on that report? And apparently he had a pretty favorable grade, whatever it was that they gave him for that. But I'll never forget Jim. He's kind of grown up like a son.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for that, my friend. Thank you. Beautiful stories, everyone. Very beautiful. Is there anyone from the immediate family that wants to share? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I could pass you the microphone if you want to. These are beautiful stories about a beautiful man.
I'll take a crack at it. I'm not sure that I can handle it. But, Jim was quite a guy. Anyhow, I'm going to say a couple years ago, there's a lot of stories that we could tell, I'm sure. But a couple years ago, I said to Jim, Jim, I'm approaching 39 for the second time. And, what I want you to remember is don't allow the circumstances surrounding my death to overshadow the man that I was. Little did we know that would be Jim, that we don't want to allow the circumstances of his death to overshadow the great guy he was. He was a good, honest man. You don't have to elaborate and embellish anything. The truth is just fine. The truth of Jim's life is just fine, and he went about his life. And one of the things I really want to thank a lot of people for is that he hasn't left a lot of misery in his wake, if you know what I'm driving at. Some people die, and there's a zillion problems behind. Thank God, as far as I know, there's no problem lying there waiting to have a solution, if you know. So really, it's the greatest thing, and for the family to realize that his memory goes on without a lot of garbage. And I really want to thank you all for coming. Our community and our congregation, they were so good to us. It's very difficult, but you all did a yeoman's job taking care of us.
Other thoughts from the immediate family? That's a beautiful thought. Just don't want to. Amen. 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 Hallelujah. Amen.